Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. My name is Josh Haynam, co-founder and CEO at Interact. Today, I'm joined by Kristen Such, inner work coach, podcaster, and you said one other thing. This is a candid podcast, so when we make
Spiritual
mistakes, we
mentor,
just roll with
but
it.
all
Spiritual
good.
mentor. That was the third one. Anyways, I found your quiz on Instagram and wanted to have you on the podcast because I thought it was very well done, both like from the concept of it all the way through the content and then the follow-ups afterwards, every aspect of it. It's also on Instagram, which is a segment that we're really looking to learn more about on our end and also grow in. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us about your quiz and we can go from there.
Yeah, so as I shared before, I'm a spiritual mentor and inner work coach, and a lot of my work really starts with helping people find their blocks, right? So a lot of my clients want love, visibility, money, success, and of course, we always think it's like, okay, I just need to go get that thing. And the work that I do with my clients, I work with mostly entrepreneurs, I work with founders, I work with CEOs. Really, it's about unpacking what is really the block of them not getting the money, the love, the visibility. And a lot of the work I do is rooted in either energetic healing or subconscious reprogramming, AKA like inner child work and shadow work. So I know that's kind of like fluffy, and I know I haven't really told you about my quiz, but I just wanted to kind of set the scene and the stage because I think it will help people get a little bit more, idea of why I created my quiz. So anyway, let's say like somebody really wants, I don't know, more money. Everyone wants more money, right? And they're like, I am just not making money. I've been in my business for a year, like something's wrong. And then I might go into it and see that they actually have a really big problem receiving money, or maybe they think that money is hard to make. And those are all beliefs that are started in childhood, right? We don't just come out of the womb with these beliefs. Like they're beliefs that are curated and created from either society or what someone told you or what your parents believed about money or life or the world, right? And so in order to go change these beliefs, we have to understand where we pick them up and then know how to work with the subconscious mind to reprogram them. So long way to say, the quiz I created is find your biggest inner child block. And it was really a way for, just like to speak candidly, people to have a free way to help them find their inner child block without having to have a session with me or go through one of my courses. And then on my end, I want to be connected to the people that need my help, right? So obviously, it's a great lead magnet for entrepreneurs as well. And so, I created a quiz called Find Your Biggest Inner Child Block to help entrepreneurs find their block and give them the exact steps on how to heal.
I think it's a really cool way of approaching that problem, right? Because there's the surface level problem of like, oh, I'm trying to get more visible, I'm trying to make more money. But then there's the underlying problem, and you connected those two. I like that a lot. And how did you condense it all down? Because I'd imagine like during sessions and stuff, like there's a lot of different ways this could all go. How did you take all those conversations and all that experience and then put it into something that was more concrete and simple, like a quiz?
Yeah, so it really started with me just identifying the biggest blocks, right? So for me, like there was bigger block around perfectionism, there was a big block around procrastination, and these are all again root cause inner child wounds. There's big block around fear of being seen. There's a big block around imposter syndrome, feeling unworthy, things like that. So the first thing that I did was really getting clear on what are my clients' biggest blocks that are stopping them from either love, money, or visibility. And so once I did that, I wrote really clear descriptions on basically exactly what they would be. And from there, I was able to curate questions. I did use a little help from AI to like get good on the wording of the questions, but I got clear on the questions. And then basically, Interact makes it super easy to input the questions into the quizzes and pair everything together. And so that's kind of how it worked.
And on those groupings, like the different, like, I don't know, archetypes or the different blocks, the different wounds, were those from like past conversations? Did you have to like run some sort of survey? Like, how did you identify the different outcomes of the quiz?
Yeah, so I have been in my industry or like a coach for the last 5 years, almost six. And so this is basically just me knowing my ideal client really well. And then also just from coaching several hundred clients at this point, I knew kind of what the outcomes were. And I know the root cause of the outcomes just based on like my knowledge. And so I think that, for anybody listening that's wanting a quiz, like a good place to start is just like that overhead question of like, what problem am I solving? Like I help people heal their blocks, right? But that is kind of the method that I use, like with inner child work, but ultimately they want the love, money, and visibility. So I'm kind of tying everything back together. I know this is like getting a little businessy now, but it really starts from knowing your niche, knowing the method that you use, and the actual things, like knowing what they want, knowing what is actually the issue, and then tying it into like a quiz.
No, that's exactly, I think, where the biggest gap is amongst folks that I speak with is like connecting the quiz back to solving an actual problem for your audience that they actually care enough about to like take action on. That's something that I'm curious if you have a perspective on is like, because this is being promoted on Instagram primarily, right? Your quiz?
I actually use TikTok as well to
Okay.
promote it. So I do Instagram, I do TikTok, I use my email list to promote it. I actually kind of like try to blast it out anywhere I can.
Yep.
So yeah, but like TikTok and Instagram.
Gotcha, gotcha. And there's just so many different options, right? You're scrolling Instagram, you're scrolling TikTok. Like there's just so many things like capturing somebody's attention and getting them to take an action, especially like go take a quiz. It has to be something that like actually speaks to something that they care enough about to like go do that action. So I'm
Right.
curious with your quiz being successful what you think about that. Like, what do you think it is that makes it compelling enough where somebody stops scrolling, goes and actually takes the quiz?
I think you have to have a compelling problem, right? So, um, I think that too, in my industry specifically, right? I told you guys, like, I'm kind of in that like spiritual coach-esque niche, which, I don't love those words, but let's just call it what it is. And a lot of words can be fluffy. And I kind of pride myself on being more of like a grounded coach where like I am a spiritual mentor, but I'm really grounded in like, this is actual data. This is not just like floofy things that I'm telling you are the issue, right? And so I think like, when you're creating a quiz, you need to be really real about what is keeping my ideal client up at night. Not like, what do they want? Like, what do, like, they may, and the reason, actually, a better way to say this is like, words can get fluffy, right? So a quiz that I feel like would not perform as well that I could potentially do in my industry, right, would be something like, biggest block to becoming your higher self, or like how to become your high find the thing that will make you your higher self. It's like no one's laying in their bed at night thinking, how do I become my higher self? No, they're thinking, how do I quit my freaking job? Why can't I take action on my business? I need to make more money, right? Like those are the tangible things that are actually going to make people move. And so I think that the unsexy work is like just getting really clear on what is the problem you are solving. Like, what's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? And how do they say it in their words?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's something that I've been talking a lot about, like on our YouTube channel, is this shift in the tenor of quizzes where it kind of used to be that first example you were talking about, this kind of nebulous, like ethereal ish concept. But now it's become really concrete. And yours is a good example of that. I'm curious, like, because you didn't go all the way down to that level of like, why am I not getting more money? It's like one level above that.
Yeah.
Is that based on customer feedback? Like, how do you identify that? Because I've seen that trend. I'm curious about that.
So for me, my ideal client knows they have an issue and they're looking for a solution, right? So
Mm.
they are aware that they have an inner child. Like they're aware that it's their unconscious mind and something's running the show. Whereas somebody that might be still in my industry, but like kind of targeting a different sector of where they're at on their journey might go to like find your biggest money block, right? I help people with money, visibility, and success. So I think that's kind of why I didn't just choose one, like find your biggest money block. That probably would be a really good quiz too, or like find your biggest visibility block. I used to actually be more like only fear of being seen, and like that's maybe with the route I would have gone in the past. But because now I'm like a little bit more of a blanket of I just help you with inner work. That's kind of the route I took, and yeah, I think that's like a little bit of the answer. But I don't think that it would have been bad if I used just money or just love or something. But I think that you also have to know where your ideal client is starting and where you want them to finish. So this is just a lot of niching work, because you could also target someone who doesn't know that they have a problem, and doesn't know that it's like an inner child wound, and that would be a different quiz.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you could go super granular, you could go further up the chain, you can go kind of somewhere in the middle, like where you've landed. But that's a good point. Like it is about what is the audience aware of today, and then also where are you trying to get them to go with this? Because it's like if it doesn't actually lead anywhere, then it's not practical. So tell us about that. I would want to know, like, what's the kind of ending of this funnel for you? Or what does it lead into in terms of the quiz? Like what's on the back end of it? I know you have really good follow-up emails. Does that lead into other offerings? Like what's the kind of post-quiz sequence look like?
So I'll be very transparent. Right now, my team is trying to optimize this to get the best results. So until we haven't created the full funnel, we are tracking stats week over week. So we have a weekly meeting where I get to see the stats, and basically until we get to 10% of a close rate, which, okay, so basically how my quiz works is that it gives you your biggest block, and then it gives you the exact prescription on how to heal it. And then the exact prescription does lead into some of my mini offers. So I offer energy healings and meditations, and we're trying to get a certain close rate before we complete the funnel, because we don't want to create a funnel that doesn't work. So until I get to around 5 to 10% of a close rate, we're not finishing the funnel. Right now, I think I'm at like 2.5, maybe around 2.5%. We actually haven't done the stats in about a week, so I don't know where we're at right now, which is actually not a bad close rate, but it's not where my team wants me. So we're kind of tweaking some stuff, like adding testimonials to the emails, and changing the wording, or like seeing why this is selling better than this, right? So we also just did something where we did like buy this meditation and get this one free. So we're testing a lot of things right now. But we've had it for, I don't know, maybe a month and a half. I'm not sure exactly. And it's done really, really well. Like we've had a lot of leads. We've had a lot of people come from it. And the ultimate goal is to upsell them into my membership, which is, I have a podcast called Alignment Academy, and then I have a membership called Alignment Academy. And a lot of these things are in my membership, right? But they're just getting a taster for my membership. And my membership is to help you manifest more love, money, and visibility. That's the ultimate goal of the membership. And so once we get to a certain close rate, we'll upsell them into that funnel, but we haven't gotten there yet, because again, we're trying to optimize the quiz to make it the best quiz and the best wording to close people, and then we'll like really hit them with the next step.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I can see how you'd want to optimize the follow-up on the funnel first. That's actually something that I think our customers are thinking more about these days, because I don't know, in this economy is what people like to say. You really got to think about every dollar in and how to optimize it as much as possible. And like that post-quiz funnel is super important. What are like initial results that you can share in terms of like leads brought in, things like that, or even just like anecdotally how the audience has reacted to your quiz?
Yeah, I've brought in like over, or I don't know, actually, I don't know the exact number, but around like I think 200 leads, which is pretty good. And again, we're hoping to get that number higher. I think on my end, I need to do more promoting, to be completely transparent. My team needs me to promote like twice a week, and sometimes I don't get there. So, because I'm just promoting a lot of things right now, but it's a lot of promotion. Other than that, which I'm actually happy with the amount of leads it's brought in. I've had people message me super every single week that tell me how accurate the quiz is. Like multiple times a week, I'll have a voice message that's like, Kristen, I just took your quiz. And like, it literally is spot on with what I'm currently dealing with. Like, I don't know how you knew. And so that's really cool because it just goes to show that like, this quiz actually works and it's not just this flu thing. And it's also been cool because sometimes I see somebody buy something from my quiz and then I'll see them come back and buy more things. So that's been really fun as well. And it's just been a really, really great lead. Like I said, I've been here for 5 years in the industry and I've had a lot of lead magnets, but this one definitely has been the most effective. I think it's also really fun for the client to get to take a quiz and like get their results. And then I think it's also just a different type of lead magnet than just putting your email in something and like, getting an email. It's like they really feel like they're getting something from me and I'm getting something from them. And I really value that equal exchange of energy.
Yeah, that's something that we've always talked about as the equal exchange, and it is something that you can do. Not that other lead magnets are not valuable. You're obviously delivering value if you give somebody a guide or a download or a free course, anything like that. But with this, you can kind of give that value up front, like even through the way that you ask the questions, like getting people thinking or provoking a certain thought pattern that might be helpful to somebody before you even ask for their email, much less like try to upsell them on something. And so I like that you mentioned that. Speaking of that, I know we kind of briefly went over the questions of your quiz, but I'm curious, what depth do you go into and how many questions do you ask on your quiz? Because I could see your quiz having like really in-depth questions that are like very serious, or you could like keep it kind of light and then do the correlations to the results. Where did you land on that? And then like how many questions did you end up going with?
I think I have around 10 questions.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's like right in the realm of what we see. Well, it has changed these days. It's like, it used to be everything was like 7 or 8 questions. And then today it's really just like however many you need to ask to make the quiz accurate, which I'm guessing was probably your experience with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I might have like 1 or 2 less, but like I think around 8 to 10 questions just to keep it, not too long. You want people to finish the quiz. So, and that's kind of a cool analytic that you guys have, like people that started the quiz but not finished it. So that's also like good data. And I like my team likes the data.
Yeah, it's helpful because otherwise you kind of either just know a binary otherwise where it's like, yeah, I got the lead or I didn't. You don't necessarily know what's happening in the interim. And so I can see how, that's why we built it into the platform to try to make it more useful to people to actually be able to see like the drop-offs even as somebody's going through the quiz. I was curious to ask at a broader level, like trends in social marketing, TikTok, Instagram. What have you seen being in it for the last 5 years? Like, what have you seen to change or to be most effective recently? Now we're in September of 2025 in terms of like content formats and how you're showing up. This is something that I feel like has changed a lot. And I'm curious if you have a perspective on that as well, but I would be interested to hear from your approach, like what you're seeing as the top stuff right now.
So I do a good bit of like studying, competitors or people that are just big in my industry. And honestly, like it seems like volume is a really big thing right now, which is an interesting thing. But like the top coaches in my industry are posting like 2 to 3 times a day, which is insane. I know.
Whoa.
And obviously they're not doing it. They probably have their team that's like pumping out that much content, but it kind of makes sense from like a Gary Vee standpoint. It's like, it really is about just like volume and not quantity versus like quality. So that's been an interesting thing that I'm still playing with. Like I haven't started posting that much, but just from the industry, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Another thing that seems to be working really well that would be more probably helpful for people that want to create an interact quiz is, using ManyChat. Like I just did this on my stories right before. I was like, hey, I'm going on a podcast with Josh because I created this quiz and everyone's like loved it. And if you want to take the quiz, then just reply quiz, and then it just like automatically sends them the quiz to their DMs. So I think ManyChat is an interesting, I've used it quite a bit, but like I think that for selling things, it's actually not as effective for me, but for free things and lead magnet and email generation, it is. So good to know, and maybe, helpful or worth it to invest in if you're trying to get more leads.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The 2 to 3 times a day one is fascinating to me. Do you think that's like, because my mind immediately would go to like authenticity. Like, do you think it feels more authentic to the audience if the person is showing up, the creator is showing up like just constantly throughout the day versus having these very polished posts?
To be completely honest, I think it has to more to do with that Instagram algorithm is so bad right now
Hmm.
that it's like more so almost like more it likes volume, because yeah, I think the Instagram algorithm doesn't really show your content all the time to people that actually follow you. So the truth is that even though someone's posting 2 to 3 times a day, you probably might not see their content 2 to 3 times a day. You might see only one piece of their content. And so I think it has more to do with the algorithm than like the authenticity or something.
Yeah, like you literally posting 3 times a day is just to make sure that everybody who follows you actually sees what you posted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then many chat is obviously a big one. Like that's how almost everybody's using Interact these days. Like you do a reel, you do a carousel, you do a post, and then there's a comment quiz to send the quiz through the many chat. So that's that's a good point. What about in terms of like coaching offerings or how customers are responding or not responding to certain offers? I know some other folks that I've chatted with have mentioned like changes to their pricing structure, things like that. Anything that you've seen there that stood out?
I think overall, like, we're just getting bombarded with a lot of stuff in the industry. So it's kind of coming back to for me, it's coming back to grassroots of like building relationships. That happens in the DMs, that happens on live free master classes. It happens in, quizzes, touch bases, emails, things like that. So I think overall, just going back to, yeah, like learning how to market in very like the immutable laws of marketing, which is like relationship building.
Mm, yeah, we've been seeing the same thing. Like people, customers are wanting to talk to a person, they're wanting to build a relationship, which I guess I mean it's always been part of how we've operated, part of like what works. But it seems like there's a turned up dial on that recently.
Definitely.
Um, Last question. If a creator led business or a content led business, that's kind of what we generally categorize our customers as, like people that are using content to grow their businesses, wanted to make a quiz. In your words, how would you advise them to go about that?
Well, probably sound like a broken record, but get clear on the problem that you're solving and solve the problem for your client. Give them a free way to solve that problem. So, like, literally ask yourself, what are they staying up at night thinking about? And how can I make a quiz where they can know the exact steps in order to solve that problem for them? People like people who give them free things. Like, you need to give free value. And I think that Interact is such a great way in order to give them that. And yeah, as long as you continue to just like stay in your heart and continue to solve the problem and, kind of stay centered in why you probably started this business in the first place, people are going to take your quiz, because at the end of the day, everyone has a problem that they want solved. Everyone's willing to pay some money for it. And you just got to like find the right wording and the right, um, the right way to kind of get in there and help them see that you can help them.
Yeah, very well put. Very well put. I appreciate it. Well, for anybody listening, where can they go to follow along with you, see your content, take your quiz?
Amazing. Yeah. My name is Kristen.Such on Instagram and TikTok. I have a podcast called Alignment Academy Podcast, anywhere you listen to your podcast. And the quiz is linked on basically everything, all my link trees, stand stores, everywhere that you follow me. And I have a membership called Alignment Academy too, where you can do the inner work to heal your self-doubt and get more love, money, visibility.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Kristen. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.